know, and I'm seeing people I know. If you think I'm waving at you, it's you I'm waving at. It's really lovely to see you. I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see our agenda for the day. And we are looking at coming together. The welcome which we've had. I'm now going to turn it over to Craig, our incoming head of school, head of college and president, who will speak about his experience so far in the UWC community and here at Pearson. We're going to have a chance to talk about the alumni engagement survey results and some of the initiatives then coming out of that. There are going to be 2 sessions looking at questions. And so right after Craig speaks, we'll manage some questions right then, and we will again at the end of our call. I want to be really sure to say that we're going to handle it, and definitely the first section of questions in chats. So if you have a question while Craig is speaking, feel free to put it into the chat, and at the end we'll take the questions from there. At the very end of the call, if we have a moment to do some unmiking and have people speak, we'll do that as well, depending on our time, but we're going to manage it through chats. Getting some feedback that my screen is fuzzy. I don't know how to fix that, so let's see if I can fix it while you speak, Craig. And this is being recorded, and thank you for mentioning that. In fact, I forgot to record it at the very beginning, but I am now recording, and we recorded this morning's session also. And we will be making that available. If you have any concerns about appearing on a recording, please let us know, and we can take care of that. So without further ado, Craig, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Heather. Yes, good day to all of you, wherever you are. It's great to connect with all of you in this new format. Our global village gatherings are intended to improve connection with our wider community and to provide access to the Pearson campus today, and which you can see quite literally behind me. I'm speaking to you from the deck of the Heads residence here on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Shawnee First Nation. So if you look behind me onto the lawn with a view of the UWC flag and the Olympic Mountains behind, I hope that's a journey down memory lane for many of you. And it's a reminder of our future plans to really emphasize the place-based educational opportunities here at Pearson. However, for my first 100 days of tenure as the new head of college, I just wanted to focus my contribution today on students. You know, as you can imagine, it's been a challenging, exceptional, and highly complex start to an academic year. We began in August with our quarantation program for students isolated in our downtown Victoria hotel, where we had an army of drivers, chaperones, and community members give up their time driving students from airports and ferry terminals to the hotel, delivering food door to door, following COVID protocols, and delivering online orientation modules to students both on the island and overseas. We then moved to the complexities of providing simultaneous on-site and online learning to 145 students on campus and the 60 or more via the internet. And this has been an enormous endeavor, and one that demonstrated the best kind of collaboration between faculty members and students, providing ongoing feedback about improving the learning. And I just wanted to acknowledge that with our faculty and all of our staff have been working exceptionally hard over the past 6 to 7 months in the COVID context, as I'm sure all of you are in your various respective contexts around the world. The biggest challenge we continue to face, as I myself am experiencing as an advisor, are the time zone differences for our students overseas who have intermittent Wi-Fi connection and in some cases no reliable hardware to access online classes. To give you a sense of this and to personalize this, I have a Lebanese student in my own advisory group without a laptop trying to follow online learning via a phone, another student in the Democratic Republic of Congo with limited bandwidth, another in Mumbai who has been borrowing an internet feed and temporary accommodation. And all 3 of them insist on staying awake beyond midnight to gain synchronous access to their fellow classmates and advisees just to make those connections. So you can understand the enormous challenge. But we have, of course, exercised all supports from national committees in those regions, alumni volunteers in the regions and UWC connections to do everything we can to provide them with the necessary resources to be able to connect online. But in addition, now all of these students, like many others, are facing ongoing delays with biometric processing and consulate backlogs in terms of gaining their student permits to gain entry. I mean, we recently celebrated the federal lifting of the restriction here in Canada, which was an enormous step towards getting our students onto campus. But obviously, we now have the challenge of actually having their paperwork processed. However, positively, previously locked out students are beginning to arrive now. We've had 14 student permits just confirmed this week, which is an opportunity for great celebration. And there's been lots of jubilation on campus. I'm connected with students last night. He was so happy to hear about this. And, you know, I'm extending my thanks to board directors, the admissions team and alumni have all exerted pressure where necessary. And this has proven successful in getting some of our students to the front of the queue and process faster than normal. Meanwhile, here on campus, of course, our COVID protocols are being followed. We have mandatory mask wearing in lessons. We have house bubbles maintained in keeping people within those 5 contexts. And we have our boundary restrictions around the campus into the chosen area around us. The challenge for many of our second language students, and for myself, a hard of hearing head of college teaching his own TOK class, is trying to understand conversations through a mask. I'm sure many of you can empathize with that. However, it is also reassuring in terms of our COVID protocols to learn that our wonderful students are still managing to creatively bend the rules by catching crabs off the dock on my left-hand side here and cooking crab linguine on illegal stoves that somehow they've been able to get onto campus. So connecting to home via food will always happen by any means necessary. And that's probably quite reassuring to learn. During my session with our new student council last night, there was even a request from 2 students to ask for permission to hunt a deer using traditional tools. So you can understand some of the challenges and some of the creative solutions our students are coming up with. This brings me to the last point I just wanted to touch upon today to give you a flavor of campus life. We're working with new student decision-making groups who, along with staff and faculty, are deciding to collaborate to look at improvements to how we operate and how we strategize moving forward. So we have initiated the formation of 4 formal student groups working with college leadership as part of a drive to enhance student agency at Pearson. So we have a group working explicitly on diversity, equity, and inclusion issues and our anti-racism agenda and our reconciliation action plan. We also have a broader student council working on strategic improvements. And we've already assembled and has been working for the past 5 weeks, a COVID-19 operating group with students pulled from every one of our 5 houses who work to look at logistics around how to improve our COVID-19 processes and things around facilities and food, etc. I mean, indeed, that group was working hard this week to find a way to allow our Indigenous students access to the Fairy Creek protest that's happening nearby. And our social committee that's been formed is helping us to co-construct activities for our 3-week winter break plans. As I'm sure you'll probably understand, given the second wave spikes across Canada and globally, we have decided that we need to keep our students with us. And so therefore we need to find out different ways of creating activities to give them a break from their study. So I think at this point I will stop and hand over to questions that I'm sure many of you will have and that we're happy as a team to respond to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So far, I see an applause for the idea of student involvement in campus decision making, and it's great to see that happening. I think it would, while I wait for some more questions to come into the chat box, it would be remiss not to mention that many of the people on the call today were around when the college was founded. And I think they will remember a lot of student engagement and some decision making at that time before so many of the traditions started happening here. Jordan, thank you. Nice to see you. Craig, a question: what do you or when do you expect most or all students to arrive?
Yeah, we've actually communicated out to families and national committees that you know, in terms of what we feel is appropriate, we want students to have arrived by round about December the 7th to the 10th, ahead of the winter break. And that beyond that, of course, we would probably only support a small number of students where it's feasible. And so by that stage, we should know the maximum number of students we've got on campus. Now, in terms of predicting the numbers, I'm asking, perhaps looking at Heather, she may have a more up-to-date notion around what we can hope to achieve. You know, it's looking really positive. We've had 14 students gain their permits, you know, this week alone, and so they've come onto campus. We've got students currently in quarantine who've come through. We think it will probably be in the region of between 185 maybe to 195 if we're really lucky in terms of students making it to campus. Now, compared to what we were thinking a few weeks ago, we're really happy about that. Unfortunately, it does mean, though, I think that the regions that are suffering the most in terms of processing is Central and South America and the African continent. So that's going to remain really challenging for those students coming from those locations. Not all of the countries there, but for some of them. And as I'm sure you'll understand, for their own health and well-being, we have to say at some point maybe they need to defer or reapply rather than staying on a footing where, you know, it's really challenging for them to access online learning.
I'm going to thank you, and I'm going to just address a couple of the questions that I see in the comment box. Certainly, we have been working with colleges, Stephen, in other UWCs in unprecedented numbers. In fact, you know, we've been saying for years it's impossible to do a transfer, and now suddenly we've done a lot of transfers back and forth and around. We've received students who weren't able to make it to the campuses they anticipated going to, and we've, as it were, sent students to other colleges as well. There's been some tremendous coordination. And Kelly, I see that you were asking about supporting students with equipment, and it's true. The issue of equipment has become a baseline, and we've committed to working with students. It's usually been between the national committee, alumni in the country, and the college's support. We transfer funds and get someone on locally to make sure equipment is available. We've also had to move some students to new locations to even get access to broadband or internet access for some of the online learning. And we're really grateful to alumni and national committees in those areas and friends of the college who've helped us do that. I hear I didn't unpin. Let me unpin.
The transferring of, Heather, the transferring of some of students from one UWC to the other, has that happened?
Yes, and I think I answered Stephen's question at the front. Craig, another question that's coming in from Jen. Might students have to remain on campus through the summer? What would you think about that? And how are you managing the various service activities and other activities?
Yeah, the service activities, we've just come through our first bespoke service week, and it's a new model where we've given more autonomy to student agency and student self-organization, which did make some of us a little bit nervous around that, and it was a huge success. We had the students presenting back to us the culmination of their work, and it was excellent. So that was the service week, and then after the winter break, we'll move into a creativity week and then an activity week, and based around the similar empowerment of students' own organizational skills with our support. So that's been really excellent. That was a lovely positive for us. I think in terms of the summer, I probably hope you can appreciate that we haven't yet thought about that. We are currently planning our winter break shift, and I would hope we don't need to think about that. But of course, if we do, it's going to be the same decision-making process around safety first. You know, we don't want to lose students if they are repatriated or they move back to their country and suddenly we're facing more restrictions about them returning. So I think we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I think we, like ever, you know, like with the 3-week winter break, we have ways and means of using our alumni network, our volunteers, you know, house parents and local residents to maybe think about different ways we can support students if that happens.
I'm going to jump in, and I hope I'm now appearing. I'm going to jump in with these other questions just to clarify that, yes, students are able to defer without applying again. Absolutely, we're not. I think the reapplication would be a reapplication for a visa or study permit to get to Canada. And some of the activities, we are still running a lot of outdoor activities. Of course, the piece that is good about COVID and the way we respond is that being outside is a healthy thing. And so we are able to, put some effort and energy into outdoor activities, both formally and informally for students and others. All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to, unless you have something else, Craig, I'm going to head on to look at the alumni survey results. All right, so while I do that, I'm going to send a poll out. This poll is going to appear on your screen. Please feel free to answer it. The question is what you think the results of the alumni survey were. And I'll just send that out now. Benoit, you might have to send it out.
I may have to send it out. Okay.
Yeah, it says I can't.
The one that's showing up in my screen is the breakfast drink. So
okay, so we're going to do some behind the scenes moments. Click on the arrow going down.
There you
get number 5.
So before I launch into the overview of the results, I'd like you to relive for some of you the experience of answering a survey. So there are 5 questions there. They'll help us understand who's on the line. They'll help us understand whether you have a good idea of current engagement at Pearson, whether or not you participated in the survey that we'll be overviewing. So just go ahead and click on the boxes and click on all 5 and then submit at the bottom, and then we'll see everyone's response. So I can see that only 2 people out of the 77 on the line have now voted. Just don't be shy, just click on the boxes. It'll be interesting to know. Question is, what percentage of alum do you think responded to our survey? We happen to have a very, very responsive alumni body. Everyone in other schools is always very impressed with the level of response that we get. Typical benchmarks range anywhere between 5 to 12%. We happen to be luckier than that. By the way, this survey we're talking about is the Alumni Engagement Survey that went out 17th of July and ended August 7th, I believe it was, or 13th of July to August 7th. This was the result of a recommendation that was made by the Alumni Engagement Working Group that the board launched in December 2019. We started working with 21 volunteers from 14 different time zones, and we jumped right in January, and then COVID hit us. But then that didn't matter because we were already working online quite marvelously. So we worked for about 3-4 months doing a lot of research, doing some specific work in different streams. People were working on communications, on governance, on programs, and came up with great recommendations, but one of which was, why don't we go out to all our alumni? And so this is what happened in July, August, and we're 51 of you have now voted, and it's going still up. And what else can I say? And then more of the recommendations were to go beyond the survey and to consult further through focus groups and other specific working groups. So that'll come up a little later in the presentation, but I think we can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
This looks good. So I'll end the polling and then I'll share the results and then I'll give you a few answers. I hope everyone's seeing this on their screen. So the percentage of alum who did respond is 19%. Good guess. I would have wanted to have 27, which was last time's in 2013 when we last polled. But good, well done. Then thank you for all 59% of you who did respond to this survey. But then, of course, there are folks who weren't invited to on this call. So this is a great number of people who engaged with the survey. What percentage of alumni do you think responded that their PC experience is very relevant? And yes, you guessed it, it's 69%. I guess you all feel the same way. What percentage of alum have responded to the question whether or not they support PC non-financially? And perhaps surprisingly to you, but it's 58% of our alum, whereas 67% of our alum have made a financial gift. This is quite a similar number, and so we're gifted in every way possible. Which of these themes, activities were listed as what more could PC do to increase engagement? And the answer is all of the above, and you have that right. So thank you very much. Stop sharing the results. Now, if we can go to the next few pages of the survey. Thank you to all of you, those who did respond, and to the folks among the 13, we have 3,600 current email addresses, and it was that is 85% of our 4,200 alum. And out of those 3,600 emails, 1,700 clicked on it, 265 clicked on the link. That's 16% of our alum. But in the end, after a few reminders and all that, 675 responded to the survey. That's 40% of those who read the first email, of whom 555 fully completed the survey. But those who didn't fully complete the survey were very high in their response rates at 80%, 90%. And we had representation from 103 of the 156 countries that have ever been represented at Pearson. That's 66% of them, and 45 cohorts responded, representatives of these cohorts. That's 100%. Moving along, this is the respondents by PC year, and albeit one can't completely see patterns or draw conclusions, there seems to be a very fine cluster of responses in the first 20 years. Then in the middle, there's a little slump and then a few peaks. One could start analyzing this, and I will invite people to do so with me. We may reach out to more people in those years that responded less. But just to give you an idea of the respondents. Next. Okay. Now it's just my face, is it? Okay. So I can, are the slides on or coming?
I'm sorry, Benoit, your co-driver here today. For some reason this morning they were beautiful, and now all I'm getting is feedback that people can't read them. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, one of my colleagues can see if they can try and screen share with better success. I'll just encourage you to tell us the story. I think we all get those pieces.
Can I do this then?
Sure, we can see if that's a solution.
Are people seeing mine?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Seeing it, Benoit.
I'm
All
not.
right.
I'm
I
not
love
in.
the library.
I'm not in show mode, but you'll be seeing this now. So benefits and motivations identified by a great majority of our respondents was that one of the greatest benefits, lifelong friendships, is also one of their greatest motivations to stay engaged and to maintain those lifelong friendships. Then global reach and networking opportunities stand very tall, and obviously that is one of our objectives. So we're fulfilling our mission that way. Other benefits and motivations identified not by the options in the survey, but by comments. And by the way, there were 1,500 comments made throughout, and this is how rich the information and the data that we have now. And I've combed through every single one of those comments, and that is going to be where we're going to be drawing most of our knowledge. So constant source of inspiration, personal development, character strengthening, a reminder of that, a sense of idealism and hope, and a sharper sense of understanding of diversity are among the benefits and motivations. Of course, there are challenges that people identified, and people weren't shy to tell us. I was expecting that to flip on its own. Time availability, distance and accessibility, level of interest, those are things that other organizations also face. But it's especially true with Pearson College, with the distance between our homes and the college itself, or the distance between ourselves and our classmates. So that does become, and especially COVID has reminded us all that distance, accessibility is certainly less accessible these days. Lack of awareness and unclear access to the opportunities that we're offering to engage is something that we have to take a real good look at. We do think that we communicate a lot of these, but obviously not enough. People's ability to afford some of the opportunities, of course, flying to the college for reunions or else other types of resources that might be missing in people's environment. Feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome, something that we've often heard among us, perhaps set by the college itself, perhaps set by the alum themselves, more of a psychological barrier there, and as well as the doubts about continued value and relevance of the PC model. We've been all beneficiaries of this model, and we still ask ourselves, even when we're thoroughly convinced, is this still today, in today's world, the best model? So interest and support, and I'm only lifting the most salient results right now. All of this will be shared with you through a more detailed online based report that between now and the end of the year will be published. But for now, we're just giving you these sort of quick bubbles. Now, the greatest level of interest and support for different programs and different activities are highlighted here. These are the responses by the numbers of people. So this signifies that more than 40%, 50, 60% of respondents responded that existing and new programs are of the greatest interest. City-based initiatives. And this was the reason that I even left the campus, come to live in Ottawa, to start a city-based networking process that would then hopefully become popular in Montreal and Toronto and New York and London, in Hong Kong, and all kinds of clusters where we have great numbers of alum. So that's still possible, but COVID has certainly hit us hard on that one. Thought leadership conferences, you'll see later and hear from some of our alum who have begun speaker series, and there's certainly an incredible amount of this network is so potent. And we have alum now that are reaching their retirement age that have 40 years of incredible international, local experience to be shared with us and others. For some of our alum, enriching the student and the campus-centered initiatives is still of great interest, and they'd be willing to support that. And indeed, some have been supporting through the existing programs like Alumni in Residence, Life After Pearson, and such, and campus visits. Designing a new organizational framework for alumni is of great interest to people as well. So is donating, of course, to the annual fund and to the college campaign, and we'll hear a little more about that later. Now, what was the richest, I guess, amount of comments that we received was, what could PC do more of? And so I've only chosen 4 of the 10 categories that I listed in the earlier survey. PC could develop more thought leadership in education and curriculum development. Of course, we've always seen ourselves as leaders, as pioneers, and have been quite proud of the accomplishments over the decades. It just turns out that now people are feeling that some schools in this space have caught up, and some would say have even surpassed what we've been offering on our campus. And there are great opportunities to be refocusing. And we heard Craig tell us about place-based education, experiential ecosystem programming, and they're going to be introducing new ways of harnessing all this activism that and entrepreneurialism that these students come with, and are expecting the college to nurture them in that. Next, that's me. PC could demonstrate more respect for and act on increasing diversity. Of course, we've all been witnessing what's been happening across the world, and especially in Canada, with Indigenous movements, with Black Lives Matter movements, with anti-racism. And so at the college, for a number of years, of course, but now more so, we've been concentrating on greater responsiveness to our own alum concerns. Craig has had to, of course, deal with a wave of interest by hundreds of alumni asking for action on the part of the college. Systematic anti-racism training is now taking place. Our students for now many years have an annual special topics day on race and such matters. And we have now new board directors from diverse origins coming in on the board in November. You'll hear more about that very soon after the AGM takes place. We've heard that PC could pay more respect and attention to Indigenous related matters and to reconciliation. Of course, Pearson has been always interested in these matters, but much, much more so in the past 5 years. And it's escalated in the past year with an Indigenous Visions Advisory Council created, on which we had Corey Wilson from year 14, Angie Bain from year 16, Christina from year 30, yes. So these are alum from Indigenous backgrounds who gave their life's experience to bear in creating a reconciliation plan, and to work very creatively with students, with alumni on land acknowledgement and land stewardship approaches. And this year we were lucky to have we're honored to have the first student and first full-time employee from our neighbors, the Sianu First Nation, also known as Beecher Bay. And finally, we could offer more specific asks and appreciation for time and talent volunteering over treasure. We often hear this, that alumni feel that they're too often asked to give money and not enough asked to give of their time and talent. And it's time that we would come up with an online rolling menu of volunteer opportunities that would be regularly renewed because of all the needs that we identify on campus and off campus. And so I'm inviting all alumni to reach in and tell us how they would best do this, what technology they would use, what mechanisms we might use. Programs tailored to specific talents. There are people who come to us, and there are other means that we could be using, like targeted crowdsourcing, for people who have very little time, longer periods, or want indeed to stay on campus for 3 months. Until COVID measures are lifted, of course, that won't be possible. And of course, acknowledgements and celebration of the multiple ways of contributing to Pearson. People have felt that there's not enough of that. Now, I'd like to invite a few of the alum who are on the call to start telling us about the revival of alumni-led and alumni-fueled initiatives that we've witnessed over the past 6-7 months. And one of them is captured in a video. Is that something that I might do? Let's see.
Sure, or I think the speaker is on the call also.
She is.
Yes.
I don't know if she wants to repeat, but it would be great.
Okay.
Fides, if you wanted to tell us about your initiative. Is that working out for you, Fides? Or shall I?
I'm happy to, but I think you have to. Am I off mute?
Yes, you are off mute. We're here.
You are.
Will I just jump in?
Yes, go ahead.
Simply to say that I've been working with a group of alumni over the last 6 months, and we've created 2 events. The second one we called Common Room, and it was an opportunity for people to get together. I think 80 people came to that event. It was just a few weekends ago, and we talked about communication. We broke into small groups where we could address issues of expressing and listening and context. And the small groups were maybe 6 or 7 people in each of them. The event was about 2.5 hours long. We also had some mini clips that people sent in to say their experiences, their ahas around communication. It felt like a good place for this Common Room initiative to begin from. And I would just encourage people to get involved with all sorts of extremely, I think, heartwarming, but also effective opportunities to connect with one another. And we are a remarkable organization of alumni, and we have an interesting way of having worked together at the college that is based on equality and based on inclusiveness, and of course could be really updated to 2020 for those of us who are from the earliest years. But I hope people take advantage of this and find ways to mirror who we are in the various activities that we choose to do together. I think it's the perfect moment, and I'm super excited to see how big the reach is at this kind of meeting to all the years and various parts of the globe. So thank you.
Thank you for this. Fides was also the artistic director and instigator of the 40-year reunion virtual fete that was held in June that brought together about 150 of years 3, 4, 5, 6 over 2 days. And we also have on the call some of the organizers of other events, such as Iggy Sison from the Philippines, who organized reunions and led others for years 8, years 9, years 10, that reached out and all got 70 people out of the 96 living from year 10 alumni together over a 6-hour period. So very inspiring. Theme gatherings like arts festivals also have been held. And there are people now proposing that a large assembly, a village gathering of sorts for all alumni to discuss what the best structure for organizing ourselves might be. We, as part of the survey, we also invited people to say if they were interested in working in further focus groups and working groups. And that is going to be the next step. As we share with you these results, we put them out online, and then we start focusing on some of these themes. There's another person on the call, David Horgan, who's been one of the speakers on the Global Village Speaker Series, and Laurie Houston, who's the instigator of this Global Village Speaker Series. Perhaps you could tell us about your initiative, please. Laurie, you can start, and David can.
Hi. I don't know, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So far we've had 2 speakers in our Global Village Speaker Series. This was an initiative that came out of the idea that we have a wealth of information in our alum with respect to a myriad of different topics that are global issues. And it's wonderful to get people together from different walks of life and different fields discussing issues that affect us globally. This is so we've got speakers lined up about twice a month up until July right now on a myriad of different topics. As I said, I would invite everyone on this call to consider coming to our talks. It's really interesting. We'd have a great discussion after the speaker speaks for about 20 to 30 minutes. And we want to continue this process and get more people involved. And hopefully out of this, perhaps the networking that happens can create some positive outcomes moving forward. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak about this, Benoit.
Thank you, Laurie. And of course, many of you may have been exposed to the Unlock talks that UWC has been offering. Many of our alum, the very first one was kicked off with Daniel Mittler, who's one of the international directors of Greenpeace International. Now we have another alum on the call. Her name is Carly Downs from Year 2 USA, and she's been involved with another affinity group, the Alumni Association. So Carly, I invite you to tell us about your initiative.
Thank you, Benoit. thank you to Craig and Benoit and Heather for giving me the opportunity to speak about the Alumni Association. This has been a wonderful opportunity to just get in front of a number of alumni to let you know that the Alumni Association exists, that our mission is to be a force to unite our alumni population, to serve the college, to serve other alumni, and to do our best to make an impact in the world as we've been trained to do at Pearson. We have 4 main pillars to support our mission. The first being alumni well-being and alumni engagement. To that end, we have developed a wellness program called People Count, which will be sent invitations out very soon to the alumni population, and we're looking forward to having as many people participate as can do or would like to. The effort is in support of folks who may be suffering the stresses and strains of living with this pandemic that we're all dealing with, and all of the sort of impacts that can have on your life. Our second pillar is the Alumni Active Citizenship Initiative. There are very many projects under that. They would mostly focus on climate change and environmental impacts that I think many of our alumni would be experiencing in their home countries that we might not be seeing in other parts of the world. Our third pillar is to support the college, and that is strengthening the working relationship between the college and the Alumni Association through joint initiatives that would include fundraising for the college as well. And then our fourth pillar is to support the UWC mission, which we want to do in every aspect that we can, and partner with the UWCIO and some initiatives there as well. It's really gratifying to know that, you know, once again, Pearson is at the forefront and pioneering on an alumni association as an independent body from the college that fostered the alumni to be who they are. And we look forward to having other colleges in the UWC group form their own alumni association. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you, Benoit.
Thank you. And so before we, I close on this survey results summary, I'd like to invite another alum from year 16, who's my colleague, Theron Shaw. Tell us about the great momentum that's been building up over the past year in the realm of class year scholarships.
Thanks, Benoit. Am I visible to people now?
Yes, you are.
So you probably don't have that slide, Benoit, with my friend Elise, do you?
I don't, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. This morning I was sharing a slide. I'll describe it for you. Maybe that'll bring it to life for everyone. But in year 16, a number of us worked to collectively sponsor a student's scholarship last year, and I think we succeeded the year before also. But last year we were matched with Elis from Estonia, who is small in stature, but I've always found her enormous in her fiery presence. She's quite the activist on LGBTQ issues and women's rights. And so we had the privilege of supporting her time here, and the photo that I shared earlier was a quilt that one of my year 16 classmates made it for Elis as a gift from our class, and each of the sections of the quilt was one person from our class who had made a gift towards her scholarship. So it was a fun way that we all connected with each other, a sweet way to help us pay it forward into current students. And it's something that we've not that whole quilt process, not every year necessarily has as passionate a quilt maker as our Carla Brown is, but we've done similar class scholarship initiatives with quite a few different years now. And especially last summer, we had a great initiative with the 40-year reunion folks, where each of those 4 years, years 3, 4, 5, 6, they kind of banded together to collectively support full scholarships. So we're happy and excited to collaborate with any years that are ready to have conversation about that, and we might get to you before you reach out to us. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's already volunteers in the chat, so there you go. Sorry, Benoit.
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for being with us, for joining us. This has been a dream that I've had at least for 30 years since I was working at the international office in London, and we were dreaming up the day that we would be able to embrace all of our alum under one roof, as in being all in one room like we are right now. So hopefully this will be growing and growing. This is the outcome of some of the recommendations and suggestions made in the working group and through the survey. So thank you. Hopefully you'll be part of the ripple effect. We want to hold these more often, 3-4 times a year. And so we'll be inviting people to join us. I'll hand it over to Heather for more questions until the end of the session.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for stepping into co-drive there when for some reason black boxes were appearing from my screen today. I want to emphasize that we are hoping to do more of these and possibly also engaging in some of the many ideas that are out there around how we can connect as cohorts, but also connect as interest and connect as learners together to do good in the world. And on that, one of the ways that I think people have connected with our current students, we're looking at ways to engage our current students in this kind of process. And in the chat, there were a couple of questions about affidavits from people who have hosted students in the past, and a couple of questions, Craig, for you around in the summer, whether alumni in Canada could be part of the solution. I don't know if you want to speak to that, if we aren't able to get all of our students home in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. We were obviously thinking about that for the winter break, but that's now become a little bit too challenging. But I think in slightly different circumstances, perhaps, with testing, and the issue for us is that if we're going to send students off campus to stay with alum or friends of Pearson, we want to make sure that the student that arrives has been tested and COVID free, and then equally when they come back, that we can test them when they're coming back into the campus bubble. At the moment, we don't have access to those kind of testing kits, but I think maybe by next summer, if we're still on this footing, hopefully we will, and we'll be able to do that.
Thank you. If there are other questions or things you'd like to have covered or comments you'd like to make, feel free to put them in the chat right now, or I'm going to be bold and say unmute yourself. We have just a few more moments before we'll close this gathering. I see gratitude and touching.
Can I speak up? It's Carolyn Campbell from year 6.
That's
and,
great.
you know, I was one who was looking forward to being on campus last summer as part of the reunion. But I just want to say the virtual reunion that Fidesz and others helped organize was so wonderful, and I think inclusive for those who couldn't travel either for time or cost. So yeah, I think this virtual platform that was in a way thrust upon us just opens up lots of new possibilities, and I'm just really grateful for today, but also for the other sort of platforms that people are organizing. Of course, it's not the same as being in the same room, but it's way more inclusive in other ways when we are so far apart from each other. So thank you.
Carolyn, I would concur 100%. I think both the sessions we've had today, I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I think it's also a testament, you know, to the notion of necessity is the mother of invention. We've been forced onto this footing, but it actually gives us great opportunity, doesn't it, in terms of bringing people together this way. I'm a massive advocate for these kind of more informal, I suppose, village gatherings or town hall sessions, and I look forward to doing more of them and having them themed around different particular foci. So that will be really interesting to do as we move forward.
I think there's rich opportunity for discussion in these as well. Go ahead, Margaret, sorry.
Thanks. Just as a suggestion, having worked and volunteered with Fatma, I'm not sure that she always knows the geographic location of alumni that are able and willing to host. So please, if Fatma doesn't know that you're able and willing to host, whether it's for a couple of nights because a student's going for an interview, or whether it's for winter break or something like that, please contact her so that she has your details when those opportunities arise.
Thank you, Margaret. That is exactly what we'd love to be putting on our rolling, scrolling menu of opportunities. And if we do it right, people would be able to do that or quickly on our website, and it would be available for all to see.
Thank you. And I know Fatma's email was just put into the chat. Right now, she's working really hard on getting students here. So give her a moment if she doesn't respond right away. Students who are on campus right now, of course, ways to support. Thank you for reaching out and thinking about that. That's really lovely. I will pass that on to you, maybe Craig, as some final words before we go out. And before I pass it on, I just want to say my own personal gratitude. Many of my teachers are on the call today, and I appreciate that, as well as many of my fellow years. And I'm really glad we could come together, and I look forward next time to more conversation. So Craig, if you want to have some final words about ways people can support students on campus right now, or anything else.
I think the support is palpable in these kind of calls. I think, of course, people will find their own way of providing additional support for our students. All of it's appreciated. Earlier today, I was talking about what's distinctive about Pearson College and the UWC movement. Someone asked me that question, having come from working in IB schools in Southeast Asia, and it's exactly this. It's the alumni. It's the alumni engagement. I've never seen such engagement in all my years working in education with different alumni bodies. It shows you that obviously people's experiences are lasting, going all the way back to year 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and that to me is a real sense of joy. So if we get through this current challenge and we can get back to some kind of normality in the coming years, then I really want to utilize this amazing time that you give and interest that you maintain in Pearson College, and trying to find different ways of utilizing the expertise. I mean, one of the things I really want to cultivate here is kind of career readiness. So thinking about how you guys have translated your Pearson College values into different career pathways, how can we get that in front of our students here so they can see that the activism can be quite diverse. The UWC values can be quite diverse in how you translate those into your adult life. And I think that will be an amazing thing to better work on. So that will be one thing.
Great, thank you very much. I'm going to formally conclude though now. I hope you can see that Craig is open to questions, as all of us are. And I love the ideas that are still going. I'll leave the meeting open for a little while if you need to leave softly. But otherwise, lots of gratitude for you to coming, and we'll have many opportunities, I hope, in the coming days and years to connect again.
Thank you.
Oh, nice waving technique.
Unmute.
Yeah, go ahead and
Bye,
unmute
everyone.
and say goodbye as you go.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Benoit.
Nice to see you.
Bye, everyone.
Hey,
Nice to meet
hey,
you.
Marks and Mark. Hi, Marks and Mark. Hi, Gary.
Bye. Oh, look at those faces.
Hey, Constance.
Okay, au revoir.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.